think we have a quorum, David. Shall we begin?
I am ready.
All right. Well, welcome everybody to our Volume 1 Conversational Insights Report. Today we're going to be sharing some of our top metrics that we collect here at Verse.io. Very, very delighted and excited to introduce everyone to David Tall, our co-founder and CEO. David, you want to give everybody a hi?
Yeah, hello everybody. Pleasure to be with you all, and really excited to share all of what we've learned. You know, we help businesses grow through conversational texting, helping them engage and qualify prospects, book appointments, demos, on-site appointments, drive inbound calls. We do all of these things. Ultimately, we're at the core of the conversation between businesses and customers, and so we are at a unique vantage point where we have millions and millions of conversations a year with consumers across just about every industry now. And we're really excited to dive in on some of the insights and things that we have learned that hopefully you can take with you into your own practice.
Very cool. And I'm Hillary. I run revenue here at Verse.io. I've had the pleasure of partnering with David for the last couple years on this journey. And, you know, we're here to share with you guys and keep you guys kind of focused, as our mission is to help your business grow. So today we're going to show you how you can do that.
People always ask me, Hillary, on this one image that I always have, my headshot, who I'm looking at or what I'm looking at. And the answer is you. I'm just always looking towards you, Hill.
It's that little hair flyaway there, David.
That's what it is. Awesome. All right, guys, we're going to dive right in. We have a lot to go through today, and we'll also have a downloadable PDF of all of this as well, so you can share with your other teams and take with you. We'll have a question session at the end as well. So feel free to tee up questions. You can start throwing them into the chat as well. So we truly believe that texting is the new follow-up call, and truly conversations are the new leads. You know, leads are just people's information. And conversations are really everything that matters. And so everything that we do is to try to spark conversations. And same with you guys, you know, with your sales teams, what you're trying to do when a new lead or prospect fills out a form, they want information, they want a demo, you're making that follow-up call right away. And we believe, based on the data, that texting is the new way to engage prospects. Texting should be the first engagement attempt as well, not just in the mix, but the primary engagement. The reason is that the data backs it up. 90% of consumers prefer to text with a business, 9 out of 10. 98% of texts are read, and 90% of those texts are read in the first few minutes, by the way. That's compared to 20% for email. So texting is working, you know, 4 or 5 times more effectively than email. Also, interestingly enough, the average time that someone responds to that SMS that you send out is going to be around 1.5 minutes, 90 seconds. And with email, that is hours or days. So it is significantly better of an experience over text. And people just don't answer the phone call anymore. 87% of phone calls are just ignored. So only 13, think about this, only 13% of calls are answered. People aren't usually happy when you call them. They're usually telling you to buzz off and stop calling. Or I'm busy, I can't talk right now. With text, the whole idea is you can empower the consumer to really communicate on their time, on their terms, and it removes that friction from the process. So you know, how do leads engage? You know, you have mobile phones, you have landlines, you have email. We talked about email a bit, and I just want to discuss here. So leads, 88% of them will respond back through mobile phones over landlines. Super powerful statistic. And this is across millions and millions of these conversations that we have. So again, just driving home the text element. Hilda, do you have something to add?
Just agreeing with you there, David, and kind of doubling down on the mobile point, right? That most leads are actually giving you their mobile phone number when they're filling out a form.
Yeah, that's right. Especially in this remote world, everyone went, you know, back home. I'm at my home office here, and you know, I'm using my cell phone. I don't have these kind of landlines anymore sitting by my side. So conversion rates are also significantly 5-6 times better over text than on landlines. and ROI as well as a result from quicker conversations over text that lead to faster closings. Much more on that we'll be able to dive in. So let's talk about inbound daily lead flow. This is the volume of leads that are coming in any given day. And what's fascinating is that, if you look back 20 years ago, even 15, 10 years ago, leads or prospects or potential customers would walk into your business during your store hours, right? During 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, you're closed on Saturdays, whatever the case is. Today, we live in an internet age, a 24/7 reality and a 24/7 expectation. And so leads come in all hours of the day, all hours of the night, and on weekends. So much so that over half of the leads, 52% of leads now come after standard business hours. Think about that for a second. Over half of the prospects that could turn into opportunity pipeline are coming when your team is likely not even there. And what are you doing with those? Usually companies are waiting till the next day, and then they have this huge list they have to climb out of, or they kind of ignore them, or they make one quick attempt, or they're only just emailing, hoping they get emailed back. This is why response rates suffer so much. So 52% of leads are coming in after hours. That has to be something that you're doing to engage those leads after hours. And 42% of consumers will actually engage, even if the lead came in during business hours, they'll actually communicate after business hours when they're less cluttered, they're less busy, they're not at work anymore, they've put the kids to bed, right? And now they're ready to chat and communicate. Makes sense. And interestingly enough, conversion rates, this is leads that we qualify or ultimately close as a sales transaction, are actually a little higher, 5% higher on nights and weekends. And that's just really interesting. And that has to do with, the fact that there's probably less competition. That's one huge element, right? If a lead comes in at 8 p.m. and you're the only one communicating with them, there's less competition. You're more likely to win that business.
Mm-hmm.
Hill, you raised your hand?
Well, I was going to ask you a question when you're done with that point there.
Yeah. Shoot.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you think it has something to do with, consumer experience and convenience for them as well? The fact that they're converting higher?
Yeah, and also I think like mental clarity and focus, distractions are muted at nights or on weekends. It's when you have kind of time to focus. And a lot of times in the day, you see an ad, you're on Instagram, you're busy, or you're at work, you take a little break, you click on an ad, you fill out your form, but you're not really available to chat right away. And then in the evening, you're much more free to communicate. And so I think there's a few reasons for it. And what's really interesting is that even though the statistics show that over half the leads come in nights and weekends, only 10% of businesses are engaging with prospects after hours, only 10%. So think about how much is being left on the table. And that's just a huge opportunity to create some lift. Let's move to the customer journey a bit. So 43% of consumers will respond to your texts within 5 minutes. So 90% or so will actually read the text, within a few minutes. And about half of the leads, 43% or so of the leads, will actually respond to that quickly. That's pretty powerful. That's not just speed to lead, it's about speed to conversation, right? It's not just about who responds first to a lead, it's about who creates a two-way conversation with the lead first. Mm-hmm. Everyone can send some kind of automation or something out. That doesn't check the box. What really checks the box is who's actually having a conversation with the prospect. This is why we say leads is just higher up the funnel, but what really matters is conversations. Conversations is really all that matters. And 67% of consumers will respond within that first hour. This is to SMS. So imagine you're generating 1,000 leads and 670 of them will actually start having conversations with you within the first 60 minutes, 430 of them in the first 5 minutes. That's extremely powerful. And you need to be armed to not just be able to engage prospects over SMS, but to be able to carry those conversations forward, either by powering your internal team with some tools or leveraging, companies like Verse and others out there that can help you carry that conversation forward. Speed to lead is everything. We all know the stats that you're 21 times more likely to convert a lead if you engage with them in the first 5 minutes compared to just half an hour later. So speed to lead is everything. So let's talk about lead sources. We at Verse have, a lot of data, of course, on our customers. We work with large, enterprise businesses across, real estate, mortgage, home services, education, did I say insurance, healthcare, automotive, legal, SaaS, B2B. It doesn't matter. We work with every industry,
Right.
solar, and we receive these prospects or these customers from all different kinds of lead sources, right? And we can attribute what's going on, and we've pulled a lot of data to really help you guys figure out how different kinds of sources stack up. So first, let's talk about social media leads. These are leads that are coming through on, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, et cetera, TikTok. So, which reminds me, I got to film my TikTok later, of course, my dance. Keep my audience engaged. Chef Boyard Dave. I have 3 followers. It's my mom, my wife, and my daughter. Looking for my 4th. Anyways, I digress. So social media is what we call a reactive type of lead situation. You have reactive and proactive. Reactive being, someone is browsing, going about their day, and boom, an ad pops up, or there's an ad along the scroll, and it piques their attention, and they click, and they fill out a form. So that's reactive. Proactive is people going directly on, sites to specifically find information, right? We'll talk about that next. So this is a reactive type of an ad or a lead. Social media, you see about 59-60% engagement rate. Not bad at all. You still see really good engagement even with these kind of leads. Qualification rates are lower than other sources, as we'll show you, but they're not bad. 17%. And this is average, right? We have customers that see 10%. We have customers that see 30-40% even on social media. So this is a rough idea, of course, to give you guys an idea. All the qualification rates may be lower than other sources. Cost per lead is also a lot lower. This is where you can get leads for a few bucks, up to 10, 15 to 17 bucks, kind of in that range. A lot lower than you're going to pay, for a marketplace site that's selling you leads, by the lead. A tip here is that these types of leads that are coming in on reactive sites are earlier in the journey, right? They're still in a kind of exploratory mode. And yeah, you piqued their interest because they were thinking about this, or Alexa overheard them talking about this and then teed up your ad. Creepy. And so the important thing here is to nurture these leads long-term. So the qualification rate might be lower up front, but they tend to have some of the highest qualification rates long-term once nurtured. And this is really only talking about short-term qualification rates.
Good points there, David. And I think definitely worth mentioning, we hear a lot about social media leads that are, they're not great. But again, just to double down on David's point, you got to give these time, right? They're just so much earlier in their journey. And if you can make sure that you have a solid nurture plan in place for these leads, you really will get great results out of them in the long run.
And the trick, and we'll talk about this later in an upcoming webinar, we're going to have a whole series of these, is it's about being contextual and relevant in your nurture follow-up long-term. Because, Bob, who came across your Instagram ad 4 months ago, doesn't really remember. And so he may, but likely he doesn't. And so it's about being really relevant and contextual when you follow up with relevant information and value that reminds them and kind of ties that string back together and creates that trust and consistency in the journey. So more on that to come. Stay tuned for more conversion webinar series.
Well said, David.
Next, we're going to talk about marketplace sites. So these are, the home advisors, the Zillow and Realtor.coms of the world, or where you go to find a lawyer. These kinds of marketplaces, Yelp, right? And so when you go on these sites, this is what we call proactive. People specifically typed in, Zillow.com because they're specifically looking for a property, or they went on Angie's List specifically to find a plumber. And so it's not something that might pique their interest. It's something they're proactively searching for. This makes sense why the engagement rate is so high, 81% on average. Again, we see customers in the 90s and we see customers in the 70s, but roughly, 8 out of 10 are going to engage. Engage is, when we say engagement rate, it means we have a two-way conversation wherever it may lead. Yeah. Qualification rates are super high as well. 42% is high. And again, we have people that we're qualifying 60%, 70% of their leads for. Qualification rates can vary based on, how stringent the qualification criteria is, right? We may disqualify leads for customers because they're out of a price range or out of a market area, or the time frame that they're looking to buy or hire your service is too far out. Doesn't mean they're not good leads. They should be nurtured. But quick qualification, that's pretty powerful, that 42 out of 100 will be qualified and really motivated to start working with you. And it also makes sense why these are some of the sites that cost the most to get leads from, but you're paying for quality. Pro tip: make sure that when you're paying for marketplace sites, you really understand if the leads you're receiving are exclusive or shared. If they're exclusive, fantastic. If they're shared, even more important that you have speed to lead and nurture automated in there, because the fortune is in the follow-up. If a few people start to bombard that same prospect right away, chances are they get a little flustered, and it's about the nurture. But the chances are most people aren't going to engage them right away. You will, because you know what to do. And so you're going to be the first one in, and everyone else will be the noise that they tell them, hey, I'm already working with someone, buzz off. I'm already talking to someone, I'm good. Next, we're talking about ad networks. So the Google and the Bings, and everything throughout, from direct search to the ad networks and the display networks, et cetera. They have, again, pretty high engagement rate, because this is kind of a hybrid of proactive and reactive. It's a little bit of both. It has some remarketing or retargeting kind of built into it, right? So it's a little bit of proactive with a reactive kind of side to it. And that makes sense where the stats fall as well, kind of a bridge in between the two that we talked about before. So 67% engagement rate, that's 2 out of 3 people. That's powerful. What's funny though is most companies we talk to, by the way, no matter what source they're getting leads from, they're only getting a hold of 30, 40%, maybe 50% of the leads. And this is over many, many, many months. And this is quickly, we're getting a hold of 2 out of 3 just by using SMS instantly, and qualifying as many as people tend to try to get a hold of. That's how many we qualify. So quite a lot. CPLs here can range, but they're somewhere in the middle between the social media and the proactive kind of marketplace sites. Pro tip: user experience is everything, and Google will reward sites that have relevant information. So to the extent that you're looking at your own landing pages, and this is something we'll talk about in another webinar as well, about on-page conversion tips, how to really get people to how to boost that on-page conversion. Make sure you have, you probably guys know this, but make sure you have relevant information that is related to the search terms that drove them there on your site, on that landing page, and make sure it's quick to load. If it's not quick to load, there's quite a kind of algorithmic penalty for that you'll really suffer from. So that's something you should really ask your web developers to test and make sure is up to par. Lastly, go ahead,
David. I'm just going to add a thought there. And you also want to make sure that wherever you're directing folks to has a very clear call to action, right? Like, what is the next step that you want them to take so that you can fill out that lead form and get into a conversation with those leads, right? So the interesting part about Google and Bing is that you can do this, you can set it up, but it is a multi-step process, right? Making sure your ads look good, landing pages, call to actions. And so we will cover this in more detail at a later webinar, but you want to make sure you're kind of lining up these steps and thinking about how that customer is enjoying the journey with you, right? Like, what do they have to go through to get in touch with you, right? How easy or hard is it for them to get their questions answered?
The, hint: remove the friction. If you just focus on removing friction from the journey, all the boats will rise. So think about that as you look at your approach. Next, talking about organic website traffic. We all have it, of course. We have SEO, and we have people who've just heard about us and kind of come back. This is, of course, a very proactive type of a search or a capture, right? Where people are coming to your site either directly or through a direct search term that led them there. So it makes sense that engagement rates are really high, and qualification rates follow suit. Very similar, in fact, to marketplace sites. Slightly lower, just because some of this has to do with, they searched on Google, they clicked on your site, and it wasn't exactly what they were looking for, right? And so again, this is why it's very important to be very clear, have good calls to action, and create a consistent experience from click to conversation. A little pro tip: consumers landing on your business website are looking to connect with you as soon as possible. They likely sought you out specifically. Make sure you have a clear call to actions, or even better, start SMS conversations with customers directly from your homepage with Verse Capture. We'll talk about our solution called Verse Capture in just a moment. But this is a way basically to capture that traffic instantly on your website and right away be able to kick off an SMS conversation with that prospect.
Yeah.
So that'll certainly help. Cool. Let's talk about some of the tools that our top customers are using. Of course, this is a sample of our customers, but what we find as we've kind of scoured for research all across is it's paralleled kind of everywhere else. So here are the different CRMs and platforms that people are using to manage kind of their CRMs and manage all their leads. So of course, Salesforce has a nice big chunk of this, as we all know. HubSpot has a nice chunk of it, and Marketo a little bit. Very few have no CRM, very, very few. My guess is they're really struggling. I don't know how they keep up, but sometimes they're the kinds of sites that they work in that way. They kind of automatically pass things along to some other partner, et cetera. But what's really interesting and stands out here is that a little over half of all of the companies have an industry-specific CRM. If you're in real estate, you have one of the CRMs in real estate, the Boomtowns, Commissions Inc. of the world. If you're in lending, you have one of those. You have a Velocify, other kinds of platforms. There's platforms in every industry. There's platforms for healthcare, for insurance, for home services, solar. So there's platforms just for the solar industry. And these are important because a lot of these industry-specific CRMs have a lot of the tools and the tricks and some of the compliance features that are kind of built in to protect customers from some of those industry-specific regulations or other integrations that they may need and make sense for the industry. Some of them also have built-in ad management systems that are designed to help you launch marketing campaigns for that industry. So just something of note that's pretty interesting. So if you don't have an industry-specific CRM, take a look. You could still use Salesforce and HubSpot, but take a look at what offerings are. Maybe it makes sense to couple some of this together. In terms of the platforms that companies are using to capture leads, we're seeing number one is Google. Makes sense. That's why they are where they're at. Two is WordPress, right? So it's just people's websites. I mean, the power of organic and SEO, can't be understated. And then you have kind of the slew of other guys. You have the Facebooks and others of the world. And so there's just a lot of places, but 90% of our customers are running online advertising campaigns. And it's important to diversify across channels so you have some consistency. And some channels will be more expensive and higher quality. Some channels may be less expensive, maybe lower quality, but it doesn't matter because once you filter it all down, the gold is there everywhere. And sometimes you have to scour through a little more hay and sometimes through less, but it's there and you shouldn't limit yourself. Sometimes volume is good to get momentum, get things going, but it's important to be able to filter through it and find the jewels within. So I want to just turn a little bit into kind of where we can be helpful here at Verse. Sorry, give me a second there, guys. My slide just refreshed on me. Give me one sec. Pulling this back up.
Good segue, David.
Must be a competitor trying to hack me right as I get to the good stuff. Nice try. Let's see here.
Don't be silly, David. We don't have any competitors.
Exactly. We're in a world of our own. Data is king. We all know this. And some of the things that we track, and I'm sharing this with you because I want to make sure you guys are tracking this either internally or through other platforms or BI tools. Verse has this built in. We have an embedded analytics dashboard, insights dashboard that shows you, of course, all the leads that we're working, that we're engaging for you or following up with, the engagement rate, the qualified rate, the response rate, daily lead flow by daytime versus nighttime, based on different kinds of campaigns or lead sources, total time saved. You'll see in a minute, all the actions and activities it takes just to get a hold of the leads and follow up with them long term. That really amounts to a lot of time, and it's really important. And of course, quite a bit more than that. But those are some of the more important metrics to make sure you're monitoring, because then you could really analyze campaigns and against one another and see what's working. Hey, this one has a high response rate, high response rate, low qualified rate, and this one has the opposite. You never really know until you see that. And most people, almost most companies we talk to, aren't tracking the response rate and the qualified rate and putting that together behind a campaign to really understand it from a campaign to campaign perspective.
That's right.
I know we all want this, but it's hard in action to do sometimes. So how do you solve this big problem of slow response and also just poor follow-up? What does good follow-up actually take? And what does it really mean to have good follow-up? Well, first off, it means engaging leads within a minute, 24/7. Just no matter when the lead wants to talk, that's when you should be able to talk. It also means nurturing leads long-term, because so many leads, so many prospects, I should say, are busy, are distracted, and the average salesperson will make 1.2 attempts before moving on to another opportunity. Hear that one more time. The average salesperson on your team, yes, you know who you are or who you're managing, will make 1.2 attempts on average. That means that most of them only make one attempt, and a couple superstars are making two to average that up a little over 1.0.
Yeah.
But that's it, guys. And it takes 6 to 8 attempts to get a hold of 80% of people. And so it's important to have multiple touch points in the first few days, certainly, and have more scattered out and paced out, but consistent, relevant, contextual follow-up long term to really capture the entire opportunity bucket in that flow. So this is an example with about 10,000 leads a month. All right, yeah. Very typical kind of customer that has 10,000 leads a month. We work with companies that have 1,000 leads a month. We work with companies who have hundreds of thousands of leads a month. So just kind of something here in the middle, kind of 10,000 leads a month. On average, it's taking us about 84,000 texts, about 1,000 hours worth of what it would be of human time. We're automating the majority of this. We have AI plus real humans, and we leverage AI to automate the majority of conversations. We have really powerful proprietary two-way conversational AI. Yeah. And then we have real people that jump into the conversations anytime it's needed. Anytime the AI doesn't understand what somebody's saying, it loops in our humans. We're fail-proof and kind of customer first mentality on how can we help you guys achieve what you need to achieve. So we don't if we need a human to jump in, that's what we'll do. This would take a superstar company. So this is very conservative. 9 SDRs, likely more. Think about this. This is each SDR handling over 1,000 leads, 1,100 leads a month. Okay. How many does your team handle? Likely 300 or 400, right? So we're just being super conservative here. They're rock stars. These are ones making 90K a year. They're rock stars, but likely you're paying a lot more than this, and you're need many more SDRs than this to engage 10,000 leads a month, as an example.
Great.
With Verse, and again, this is meant to just be an example because we have different solutions, and depending on what you need, the price can be higher or lower. But roughly for 150K a year, the cost of one solid, sales rep, for the cost of one, you can have a 24/7 complete outbound team that is engaging 10,000 leads a month, following up for months on end, 24/7, never missing a beat, never getting tired, never calling out on vacation, never going to the bathroom, and all our bladders are full. So this is the power of automation coupled with the power of the human touch. So think about the savings there. And again, I think we undersold this. I think the savings are actually much higher. And in a lot of our case studies, They're dramatically higher than this. But there's significant savings to automation, of course, naturally, and to production and results.
I agree, David. And I think one of the other things that we hear most often from our clients is that Verse is the ultimate insurance policy on your marketing spend, right? Because there's no gaps, there's no holes in the follow-up or in the process. So if you're out there spending 10, 20, 100K a month on marketing and leads, having a tool like Verse and a system like Verse in the background, makes sure, right, that you're not missing any of the potential opportunities to your point, David, somebody being out sick that day, or having a family emergency, or any of the other things that can occur when you have in-house employees.
Absolutely. And the fact of the matter is, no matter how many SDRs you have, they're not going to send this many texts. They're just not. And they're not going to do it 24/7, and they're not going to do it for months on end. So there's a lot in here that isn't really illustrated or given enough credit to. I want to talk about a few of our solutions that we think can hopefully be very helpful to you guys specifically. So our core product is Verse Engage. Verse Engage has on average about a 72% response rate. Again, some higher, some lower. Verse Engage is to engage new prospects. They just fill out a form, or you just received a lead from a marketplace or anywhere, and we respond to that prospect 24/7 within 1 minute over SMS and have huge engagement with these prospects. So, 52% of consumers engage with businesses after hours. With us, you're covered 24/7. So I don't care how well you think you're doing during the day, you're doing pretty poorly at night. A lot of companies just say, hey, you know what? Why don't you just start off with all my nighttime leads? And we can handle that. We integrate with every platform and system, and we're very rule-based triggers that can launch these conversations at any moment, pivotal moments on the journey. So it could be every lead coming in after 5:01 p.m. through 8 a.m. the next day comes automatically to Verse, and that's half your volume. And we can start there and show you the power of what we can do after hours, and then help you maybe take over the whole funnel to really give your team a lot of leverage. And now you're creating a consistent process. You never have to worry. You never have to train new people. We're having all these conversations instantly and just teeing up opportunities for your sales team directly on their calendars. So that's Verse Engage. Make sure you look into that if you schedule a demo and talk to your team. Secondly is Call Connect. And this is a very, very powerful solution, and it's meant for driving inbound calls. If you're the kind of business, you have kind of an internal call center or big kind of internal team that really needs to have phone conversations, well, the best way to have a phone conversation is to initiate through SMS. The stats show it. So if a lead comes in, you need to talk to them on the phone, and you send them and you start calling them. Again, most people, only 13% will answer your call eventually. And most of them will be upset once they answer the call because they don't know who you are. They have no context. They're busy. They was hoping it was someone else they were waiting for a call from. And so even just because you made contact does not mean you made a connection. And so that 13% is even lower, really, in reality, when you factor that in. What we do with Call Connect is new lead comes in, we text right away. Hey, is now a good time? Hey, Alex, with some context, look at this example up here. Hey, Alex, sorry, guys. Alex with Enlightened Insurance, we received your inquiry. We're giving context. Are you free now for a call, or is there a different time that will work better for you? This is conversational, right? It's not some notification. It's an authentic SMS. Michael's going to see it, and he's going to respond the majority of the time. And he's going to tell us, yes, now's perfect. Or actually, I can't talk right now. Friday is better. And we will follow up automatically whenever they want a call, even remind them. And as you can see on this conversation, and then generate the outbound call automatically when they're ready, and instantly transfer them through a live transfer directly into your team. So now your team, it goes from click to conversation as an inbound call. Very, very powerful for call centers. So something to ask about. And our case studies are showing that customers are increasing inbound calls by up to 300%. That is quite significant. And we're doing this with some of the biggest brands that you all know and interact with on a monthly basis. So this isn't with small SMBs only. This is with some of the largest companies in America who need to get a hold of you on the phone. These are insurance companies, home service companies, mortgage companies, and it's super powerful. So look into that. Next, Verse Revive. We created this product because we believe that your database is more likely a database, pun intended. This is just a bunch of dead leads in there, and you're just trying to figure out what smart little email you're going to send to try to perk them up. Well, it's not going to work very well, as you already know, and I don't have to tell you. So what we did with Verse Revive is create a way to bring that database back to life. Keep your services top of mind, revive interest, offer promotions, things that will actually land on their phone, they'll see them and be able to engage with in a conversational way, not a spam marketing kind of way, but really through a conversational approach, an authentic approach that simply works. These are leads that people have completely given up on and are just sitting in your database. You have tens of thousands of them. Well, we are able to get a hold of about half of them, half of the leads that are considered just kind of dead and stored away. Again, some higher, some lower, but about half of the leads we'll be able to re-engage, have a new conversation with. How powerful is that? How many, everyone's focusing on the new leads, the new marketplace, the new pipeline. What about everything you already generated over the last year? That's bigger than everything you're generating this week or this month. And people just tend to forget about it. So check out Verse Revive. Lastly, and this is in beta, and you can join our wait list. We have a lot of demand for this, so we've created a wait list. This is our newest product. You're some of the first people here to hear about it because we just put this up on the website a few days ago. It's called Verse Capture, and we're really excited to be innovating in the space of capturing new prospects, acquiring prospects directly from your website. And so your website, take a look at your website now. Do you have anything that allows your customers to text you? 99% of you do not. 99.9% of you do not. You're forcing people to fill out a form, and then again, now you're waiting and to get that form, what do you do with it, et cetera. Or there's a phone number, call us. No one wants to call you, hate to break it to you. Nobody wants to call you, nobody.
It's true.
So what we created was Verse Capture, and what it does is it's a live chat type experience, but that turns into an SMS experience. Why? Because live chat can be powerful, but who here really likes to be stuck on a live chat, waiting for someone to respond back and forth? You're stuck on that tab, you forget all about it, you click on other windows, you go have lunch, you come back, and the person had responded to you an hour later and saying, are you still there? Are you still there? And then conversation ended. How frustrating is that? And so what we've created is Verse Capture to put this widget on the bottom of your site, bottom right of your site. They click on it, and it's a form type form, obviously, with permissions built into it to text. And they put in their information, and instantly we text them and start the conversation over SMS. Why is that powerful? Well, because we capture the new lead. Now you have a new prospect that we captured from your site. Secondly, we're starting the conversation right away. If they filled it out, it's because they want to text. So you're talking to the people who really want to text. 9 out of 10 want to text. And you're able to nurture that prospect, something you can't really do with live chat unless they come back on the site and you try to, have that little pop-up. But with Capture, we capture the information, and now we can actually text them over, 3 to 6 months if needed, to offer them value, to remind them, and to keep them engaged. So it's super powerful. I hope you guys will check it out and be some of our first users. But we're seeing huge success with this just with our beta group already. Just a quick kind of customer case study here with Madwire, big marketing services company, helps a lot of SMBs and mid-market companies as well with marketing efforts. We have worked 28,000 prospects with them. By the way, we have a huge we have a nice video kind of testimonial thing coming out with Madwire. So check that out soon with much more detail where we dive in. But just want to point out how much we've saved them. So they have 28,000 prospects. We've engaged 68% of them and converted 49% of them. And we have saved Madwire 471 hours.
Yeah.
That is, that's like 4 or 5 months worth of time. And this is in a short period of time, by the way. So it's just extremely powerful what's possible here when you leverage the best of AI and automation with the best of people and the human touch.
And I just want to share there on Madwire, we didn't put it up, but they are from the opportunities that we're generating, they're closing a little over 30% of those opportunities into customers as well. So it's driving huge full funnel ROI all the way down to the bottom line, or as David likes to remind me, the top line of revenue is the bottom of the marketing funnel. So we'll have a video coming out here shortly from Madwire CEO and kind of share their results and how they're using Verse to get their ROI boosted.
Just look how happy this person looks. That's how happy we can make you every day. Awesome. Well, if you're not a member yet, I encourage you guys to schedule a demo. We're going to have time for some questions, so stick around. But encourage you guys to schedule a demo. And what our team does is we're not here just to pitch your services. We are here to truly understand your lead funnel. We're a group of experts, conversational and marketing experts and outbounding experts that will get a good understanding of how your process works today. We'll give you our best kind of strategies and where we think we can plug holes, what we think we can improve, and propose something if we can be helpful. And if not, we are fantastic at recommending other services that may be a better fit, or other lead partners or marketplace partners that can generate more leads for you. So there's really nothing to lose except just tips to gain, and you can try to build them yourself or leverage us and try to run a pilot with us and see. What's nice about what we do is everything is measurable. And in that insights dashboard that we talked about in the beginning, you can actually measure the exact lift in engagement and qualification and ROI. And so you don't have to trust us or hope things work. You can just visually see, monitor, and measure it. And you can only improve what you're measuring. And that's why it's one of our core components of our platform. We want to benchmark where you're at today, and then we can run a pilot or a test and show you what we can do and see if it's worthwhile to have a longer term relationship together. So we hope you will join us and talk to some of our team and see if we can be helpful to you. So I'm going to turn it over now to Q&A.
Thanks, David. I do have a couple questions that have been sent to me over the course of the talk here. So we'll get started from Danielle. What do you think about making calls to new leads? And I know you kind of touched on this a couple of times. This one was earlier in our journey here today.
If you have a huge call center and they're going to make the calls anyway, go for it. But I would layer in SMS at the same time, or even right before, even just to prompt someone to let them know you're going to give them a call, because most people just aren't going to answer that phone call. It just is what it is. If people did, Verse will always do what works best. And if phone calling worked best, that's all we would be doing. The reason we're doing text is not because we have some secret passion for texting. We have passion for what works, and that's what works. And so we're passionate about that. And really want to help all businesses modernize the way that they're engaging prospects to help them really win. When our businesses win, we win with them. And that's what it's all about. So again, something we use with Call Connect, and you guys can take with you or do something with us, is we send a text right away. Hey, Hillary, Alex here with blank solar received your inquiry about getting a quote for your project. When is now a good time for a quick call? Yeah. Right. Let them tell you when is a good time for a call. A lot of them will say, sure, right now. And then they'll pick up the phone 94% of the time. If they're prompted by an SMS first and they acknowledge it, they will pick up the phone 94% of the time, compared to 13% of the time without a prompt or heads up. So just think about that. Leverage SMS to get people on the phone. Yep.
I think that's a great example. I don't remember if I shared this with you, David, but I was shopping for windows for my house recently, and I ended up filling out a lead form on a marketplace site, which I did not know I had done. And it was shared with, my best guess is 8 vendors. And they have all been calling my phone off the hook, and not a single one has texted me just yet. Which is crazy that they spend all this money on leads, right? And then continue to just call. So I guess the other way to think about it is, it's not about calls, it's about connecting, right? And so you want to find the easiest pathway to connect with people, and SMS is the gateway into those connections and conversations. David, I have another question here. from Mike. How long should we follow up with leads?
I think it really depends on the kind of lead. If it's a proactive lead, I would put more of the juice up front, because they're proactive, they're likely to be buying or looking for that service sooner than later. And then always sporadically follow up for 3 to 6 months. If it's a reactive lead that, was just kind of piqued with interest along their casual day they were having, and they saw your ad and they clicked on it, then those you have to be a little more respectful for. You can't be too pushy up front or you'll scare them off. So you have to be a little more spread out in the beginning, but long-term, 3 to 6 months still works tremendously well. And you'd be surprised how many people just come back from nowhere 3 to 4 months later saying, hey, I'm ready now. And it's just because, you know what? That's just human nature. You want to get solar on your house, you just start researching, but it might take you 6 months to really pull the trigger on something. So the fortune is in the follow-up for that reason.
Got it. I have another question here. How many texts should we send to a lead on the first day? Like if someone was designing our own, and I guess we can share, some of our secret sauce, like, what our cadences look like.
Yeah. So if the lead, it depends again on the time that the lead comes in, but if the lead comes in at a reasonable hour during the day, midday, 3, 4 texts is fine. You could even send 5, as long as they're contextual and relevant. So what we do is, an example here. Hey, Hill, Alex here with, this Alex is busy. Alex here with, blank roofing, received your interest in getting a quote from our company, would love to assist you. And it's now a good time to chat. You don't respond at all, right? Okay, 15 minutes later, let me know, ... right? It's just, it's not another annoying text. It's kind of a ping. Maybe an hour after that, just let me know if you're still interested. So that's 3 already. 4 or 5 could just be their first name with a question mark. That works tremendously well. And makes people feel it's really personal. And so Hillary, question mark, and then people start to feel guilty that they're ignoring you and will usually engage. We get a hold of the vast majority of people within the first few texts, just because they're contextual, relevant, and timely. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Question from Brandon, who is using BEX. He was telling us in the chat also. So hey,
fantastic
Brandon,
company.
We love BEX very, very much. He asks, do you still follow up with unqualified leads and put them on a drip campaign?
Absolutely. And this is something we didn't show today, but when we disqualify leads, we bucket them into custom reasons why. So you're going to get your people who say stop contact. And you want to kind of DNC those and bucket them separately. That's a small percentage, usually 1%, very small. But you get people who we disqualify because of the timeline, or they're working with somebody else, or the price point is a little off from what the qualification criteria was. So it's important. I'll give you an example for real estate. So many real estate brokers will have us disqualify renters. They only want to work with buyers and sellers because that's where the big money commissions are. Makes sense. I get it. But we're disqualifying a huge percentage of leads who are just renting or looking to rent. Maybe it's 10 or 20%, but it's significant. Instead of just ignoring them and putting them into your database, you should nurture those long-term. Why? Because what do renters want to become more than anything? Homeowners. So yeah, they're renting right now, but trust me, they want to buy eventually. They want to buy. And so you should be nurturing them long-term with content and value that keeps them engaged and keeps you top of mind.
Very, very well said, David. Fortune is in the follow-up. One more follow-up question. What do we think about email? This one's from Sherry. Does email work for engagement? I think is the ultimate question.
I look at it as you should really take an all of the above approach for the most part. Email isn't hurting you. It's just not the most effective. But why not email people at the same time? Sometimes people may give you a fake number. It's a small percentage of the time, but sometimes people may give you a fake number, or sometimes you get those people who don't like to text. There are 10% of people who don't. And so emailing it gives them that path and that avenue. So you don't want to force people. And what we're all about here is it's not forcing people through any channel. It's giving people choice. That is why the majority of our first engagements are just acknowledging the consumer, letting them know who we are and giving relevant context. I'm contacting you because you contacted us about this. And hey, is now a good time for a quick call or would you prefer to text? And just what you're doing is giving people choice. And so the more choice, the better. And it can't hurt. Again, it's not going to work as strongly. That's just the statistic. We email, by the way, as well. So we know this and we have our own stats. We text, and if they're not responsive, after a few texts, we actually start to drip a couple emails as well. But we still find that 90% of the engagements come back through an SMS as opposed to the email.
Yeah. Yeah. So, email does work and can work holistically, but I like, and I want to double click on what David said there. It's really about giving consumers a choice. For the last, it's interesting. I mean, David and I have both been around leads and in real estate for a really long time. And marketers can kind of take the human out of leads, right? Everybody just becomes a number at some point. How many leads did you get? How many clicks? And starting to look at metrics that way. And I guess if I could leave everybody with the thought of, empowering you to remember that leads are people too, right? Like they are reaching out for a reason. They're interested in information or they're looking to get something from you. Not all of them are going to buy today, but if you can keep that people hat on, because that is how we take a look at all of the campaign funnels that we build. It's about empowering leads through choice and giving them the best way that they want to get in touch with you, right? How do they want to engage with you? And right now, to David's credit earlier, it's text, right? Someday if it becomes carrier pigeon, it'll be carrier pigeon, right? I mean, I highly doubt it, but that's if that becomes the best way, then we'll be running a webinar on how to I guess train pigeons, David.
Oh yeah,
would be
and we'll be the best at it. We'll be the best at it for sure.
We would be the best. Last call on any other questions from anyone out there in the audience today. Looks like everyone is delighted and we delivered on our webinar today, David. We are out of questions and we are just about to wrap for time. I will pass back to you for final thoughts.
All right. Well, I just want to thank everybody for spending the time with us, and please look out for more webinars that we're going to be having. We're going to be diving into all different parts of the funnel and the process, and hopefully you guys find it really valuable. It's our way of giving back with the data that we have. We want to empower our industry and everyone around it. All of us here on this webinar, we're the builders of the customer's journey, right? We are the marketers, the salespeople, the product people. We are designing the journey that the customer, we're building the road. And it's our mission to help people build safe roads, smooth roads, quick roads, declutter traffic, and help people get to where they want to get to. That helps everybody win. So remove the friction. If you take one thing away, look at your process and remove the friction. Stop forcing people on phone calls or through email or even through text. It's about giving people choice and allowing them to communicate in more effective and convenient ways. And ultimately, when the consumers win, you're going to win, and all boats will rise. So with that, I leave you. Thank you so much, and look forward to seeing you guys again soon.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, David.
Thank you.